Greetings viewers, Eric the Car Guy here, back again with another repair video for you. Yes, and this time a repair video that I think you're going to like. Many of you really like it when I do electrical repair videos, and I'm going to go through some electrical repair on my 1993 Acura Vigor here. So why don't I start with a little story for you and let you know basically how we got to this point. Wasn't that long ago, and I hope the video may be out by now, that I removed the entire dash assembly and HVAC assembly in this car to replace the blower motor. In doing so, I had quite a few things disconnected up underneath the dash, and I got everything back together and all connected up. And that evening I left to go home and noticed a few strange things that were happening. One of those things was that the fog light switch was not working properly anymore. I'd go to hit the switch and the fog lights weren't coming on at all. And the side mirrors, they're electric mirrors that are adjustable, those mirrors were not functioning as they should either. One other thing that I noticed was the defroster was no longer working either. So I'd hit the button for the defroster, nothing was happening. As I was also sitting in the drive-through, waiting to, I was sitting in there a really long time, but while I was sitting in line there, the temperature started to go up and almost to the point of overheating. So I quickly rolled down the windows, turned on the heat, and was able to keep the temperature stable at that point. But so these were my list of symptoms. The mirrors didn't work. And one more thing, actually the fog lights did work, but they worked when I toggled the switch from the center to the left on the mirror switch. So now the fog lights are working with the mirror switch, and that was awfully odd that I thought they would work there but not at the fog light switch. But it sort of cued me into the idea of what might be going on. Well, anyway, as I said, it started to overheat as well. So I've got no rear defroster. The fog light switch works with the mirror switch now, and my mirrors aren't working. And also, the interior lights were acting kind of funny at the same time. They didn't seem to be working quite right. So I came to the conclusion that I probably hooked something up wrong, and it probably had something to do with the fog light switch and the mirror switch. And sure enough, I came back the next day and found that I had switched those two connectors. Apparently they're the same connector. You can switch them quite easily. So this is an amendment to that video. Anyway, I was able to switch those connectors back where they should be. And then I attempted to make those things work again. And now I've got it so that my fog lights work with the switch, so they work properly. However, my mirror still does not work as it should. And my rear defroster still doesn't work, and I still don't have cooling fan operation, which was the reason for my overheat. I don't remember if I mentioned that, but the reason the vehicle was overheating is because the cooling fans are not coming on as they should. And I'm getting to my point here, because a lot of this is how you go about this type of diagnosis. So first, I could draw the conclusion, because that switch worked the fog lights the way it did, that I probably switched connectors, found that out, switched them back. As far as the interior illumination, I found a blown fuse under the hood for that and was able to replace that, and that worked. But still, I have no rear defogger, and I still don't have the mirror operation, and my cooling fans do not operate properly. So I still have those three things that are a problem. Did a little research to find out what was involved in those circuits, and they all go through the same fuse in the fuse box, fuse number 8.
All right, here we are up underneath the dash. The key is in the on or run position. And that's how you want to check these fuses. As you can see, I got power on this one. This is the affected fuse. This is fuse 8. It shows power, but it doesn't beep. But then on the other one it does. That's sort of a flag, if you will. Okay, I've got it on the 20 volt scale. I took the ground, stuck it here. That's a good place for it. As long as you're touching metal on the vehicle, you're touching the ground. Now I take my other lead and back probe the fuse, and I get at the top full battery voltage, and on the bottom, yeah, I'm getting that 10.94. So I'm losing over a volt through this fuse, and that's just, as I said, that's really unusual for something like that to happen. There it is on the top again, and then down here. Now on a normal fuse, let's just do somebody next to it. I've got the 12 there on the one side, and I've got the 12 on the other side. So I've got the same voltage on both sides. That's what I expect to see. You just don't often see a voltage drop through a fuse like that.
I looked at these circuits, and the rear defroster runs through the integrated control unit. There's a timer that turns it on and off that goes through that integrated control unit. Also, the fans, or the AC clutch, is tied into that same fuse. Fuse number 8 in the fuse box, to be precise. And the mirrors also. So all 3 things that I have affected all go through that same fuse, and I've got a voltage drop in that fuse. I suspect that it's a problem with the integrated control unit, that I might have fried something when I switched those connectors and sent power which shouldn't have gone, that type of thing. But I'm also wondering if maybe it's the fuse box itself, if something in there went bad. And I looked at the power distribution for that circuit, and really the only thing there is the fuse box. And that's why I'm a little hesitant, because the voltage drop that I saw across that fuse is pretty strange. Now, fortunately, I was able to find on eBay a whole new fuse box that includes the integrated control unit. And I got this for about 25 bucks, which I'm really thankful for. So in a way, I have what I believe to be all the solutions here. Now, what I'm gonna try to do first is, this integrated control unit actually comes off of this fuse box, and it's not that difficult to get to. Other models, they're actually mounted on the back. You have to remove the fuse box to get to it. So I'm first gonna try removing the integrated control unit and swapping that over and see if that has an effect on circuit operation. If it does not, we're going to swap out the whole fuse box. Now, we're going to find out if my wiring diagram and circuit diagnosis is worth anything with this, but this is a problem that I caused, and right here is fuse number 8, just to cue you in. So this is the fuse. It's a 7.5 amp fuse right here at the top. AC clutch, power mirrors, and also the rear defogger all run through that particular circuit. It supplies power to different parts of it.
Right, well, here we are at the battery. I'm going to disconnect my power probe. If we're going to get in there on the fuse box, I want to make sure that there's no power going to the system. So I'm going to disconnect the negative battery cable, so that way we're sure that the patient is fully knocked out before we start doing brain surgery here. Now that we've got the battery disconnected, let's disconnect this SRS harness. There's sort of a cover. There we go. And probably the easiest thing to do is to just sort of pry it away from the fuse box a little bit. It's clipped in the top and the bottom. So I'm going to disconnect it from the fuse box first, and then I'll disconnect. There's a connector right back here that you can't quite see, this green connector, that also needs to be disconnected. There we go. And here's that green connector. It just pushes in. These are known to sometimes fail on Hondas every once in a while. This actually has your key beeper in it. It's got a lot of those things, like the rear defogger, timer, that type of thing. And there's the part number for those of you that may be interested. Good luck finding it. The only way I could find it was with the fuse box, and kind of thankful for that, because it could be one or the other according to what I was looking at in the circuit diagram. And there's that plug that goes into the fuse box in the back there. Okay, I've removed this from the other fuse box. I'm going to plug that green connector in first. There we go. And since this is just an experiment, I'm not going to put any of the other stuff back. I'm just going to plug the battery back in, or reconnect the negative cable, and then we'll check the operation of the mirrors and also the rear defogger, see if that's got has any change to it. All right, first let's try that rear defogger. If it was working, the light would come on. It's not coming on. Let's try the mirrors. Flip the switch over. Nothing. Mirrors aren't working either, and I'm just going to assume that the fans aren't working properly either. Next, let's swap out the fuse box. Really glad I got it. Here's our new fuse box, and I've got this out so I can show you what fasteners there are that hold it in. There's going to be one here and one down at the bottom, and then it just sort of clips in the back. There's a few electrical connections here in the front, ignition switch, and I think there's another one here. This is the SRS connector. In order to get this out, you need to, as you can see, it's sort of pulled away.
right now. And in order to get that out, you have to stick a screwdriver or a pocket screwdriver down in here like this and push that back in order to get that connector out. So if you're having trouble, if you have to do this and you're having trouble getting that connector out, that's how to do it. You got to get right down in that slot like so, push that out in order to get that. Then on the back side, there's a few more electrical connections. Now these you really can't mix up. No, you can't mix up these two because they're a different size. But there's all these electrical connections in the back here that need to be disconnected. And I believe over here there's one more fuse that clips to the side that needs to be pushed out. Fuse box is here. In front, as you can see, this is called the dead pedal. It's held down by 3 fasteners. There's one down here, one up here, and there's one to the side of that. And they're all 10mm nuts. Okay, to gain access to the fasteners on the fuse box, I'm gonna have to remove this plastic kick panel cover here, and that should just be clipped in. Let me show you here. You can just sort of pick up on this sill plastic and then sort of sneak it out from under, and then it should just be clipped in. Looks like it wasn't all the way clipped in because looks like this clip was moved over a little bit. There's a little slot, and you can barely see up behind here that this is supposed to go into, and then this other one goes into, I believe, that hole there. And then way over here on the fuse box itself, there's a little tab, little clip that goes into that area. Why don't we disconnect some of the electrical connections? Let me give you a better look. This harness is for the ignition switch, clipped in. That one's out. And there's this other green connector here that disconnected. And then remember our SRS cable. I'm gonna take my pocket screwdriver and slip it right into that slot, like it said. So now, we still have this harness over here, and it's the SRS harness is clipped down on the bottom of the fuse box there. And here is another fuse that is clipped on the back of the fuse box that we don't really see, and that pushes through the back. There's a little plastic tab here. You can push in and then just sort of push it back like this, and then when I pull it back it'll come off easier. Looks like you got a brake pedal on the way there. And just like before when I took the integrated control unit off, there's that connector back there, but I think it's going to be easier once we get this out of here. And since that's my new integrated control unit, I think I'm just going to remove it now. So I'm going to put this on my new fuse box when I install it. Here's our fasteners. One down here underneath that you can barely see. And see right there by that sunroof drain? There's another fastener that's up in there, both 10mm. And here's the other one. Now both the fasteners are out. It's sort of pushed in here. It's sort of pushed in this way. And I'm just gonna pull it back towards me a little bit as I pull out. And then it's also clipped in underneath. Right here, this little piece sort of straddles a plastic clip. And now I'll just unplug all the connections. So there's our old fuse box. Let's install the new one just in reverse of what we just did. Here's the new fuse box. Pretty much looks the same, and that's a good thing. Like I said, it's hard to mess up the connectors. Make sure they clip home. If they don't clip in all the way, you'll have a problem. And don't forget that fuse that clips onto the side there. It just sort of slides up into that slot. There we are. Now get the integrated control unit and the other connectors out of the way. You can sort of see back up in there where the side of that fuse box sort of goes into, slides in. So when you get it up in there, you've got to slide it under that loop back here. And with that slid in place, it should, all the fasteners should line up. And then it's just a matter of replacing those fasteners. And
Then I'll get the other one started and I'll run them both down. Now the integrated control unit, SRS connector, and this green connector for the front, and our connector for our ignition switch. Surprisingly, that's it. Let's reconnect the battery and give this a try and see if all that stuff works now. Moment of truth. Let's try the defrogger. Hey, the light comes on. That's good news. Let's try that mirror. Nice. Well, let's get this all back together, and I'll check the fans, but at this point, I'm gonna say this thing is pretty much fixed. Right, let's check those fans.
Now there may be some of you that are asking, hey Eric, well what went wrong inside that fuse box? Well, here's, this is a known good integrated control unit, so we're gonna set that aside. And we got a couple of known good relays here as well. These fuses, they're all good. In fact, I've got a large collection of fuses from situations just like this where I've replaced a fuse box. A whole bunch of fuses in there. I don't know if this is gonna wanna come apart or not. I may have to drill out these little places here. The lengths I go to for you. I think I already see it. Well, that may be water intrusion or something. But that is fuse 8. There's probably going to be layers of this in here, but that right there kind of looks suspect to me because of the discoloration. That's just the plastic covering, so we're holding in our hands right now all the parts to the fuse box, and this is the one right here that we're looking for. Oddly, I cannot find exactly, because it would be in here somewhere. It's this fuse. Other than what I see here on the back, that's the only thing I see is this discoloration. Outside of that, I don't really see anything else, but maybe that's enough. I want to see what's inside this, I'm sure you do. So we can get this out of here, yeah. There's the integrated control unit. I mean, I don't really see any burn spots on the board or anything, or a capacitor or something that looks fried. Well, it is fixed. The only thing I can attribute it to after inspection is the fuse box, because we swapped this guy out. That's about it. That's what I see. I don't see anything else that says that's glaring out and obvious. There's what the inside of a fuse box looks like, if you're curious. All right, knowing that you're not gonna forgive me for not at least trying, I've sort of loosely reassembled this fuse box. The affected fuse is this one here. I believe that's fuse number, well actually no, it's this one over here. It's fuse 8, which is here. All right, there's no connection there. Well, first I suppose we should do a baseline of what's in my leads. So my leads have about half an ohm's resistance in them. 3 to half an ohm. So here to here. About the same, here to here. Also about the same. Let's find out where this other lead goes. Check this out. So the other lead going up to here, it's got about normal. It's got a little, it seems to be jumping around a little bit. No, that's normal. That one's fine too. Or at least it appears to be. This is an odd problem. So I unfortunately don't have evidence here. It's fixed based on what I did. I wish I could give you a better explanation on that. Sorry. Well, it is fixed. I wish I could have found something more definitive for you inside the fuse box to point to say, hey, but perhaps the discoloration of those circuits could basically give a hint as to what the actual issue was. But swapping out just the integrated control units didn't seem to have an effect. But swapping out the fuse box did. This leads me to believe problems in the fuse box. So some of that somewhere, one of those connections is not good. I'm ready to move on. It's fixed. The way I found it was really through the wiring diagram and a little bit of testing. And between those two things, between the use of the wiring diagram and the information that was contained there, finding out that all those circuits were related according to that fuse having a voltage drop directly in the fuse box said that probably that discoloration was causing some increased resistance in the circuit, enough of it to where it was affecting how the circuit would operate and wouldn't allow it to operate. So it wasn't getting full battery voltage or full system voltage to those circuits, therefore they did not operate correctly. And even more so when you put a load on a circuit like that, I should have checked that. If you put a load on a circuit that already has that kind of resistance in it, it's going to drop down even more as far as the voltage, so there'll be even less available voltage at that point. All these things contribute to those buttons not working. I push button, it don't work. But I hope this, shows you that yes, I am capable of electrical diagnosis when confronted with it. Sometimes, we all are left scratching our heads in situations, but I hope this imparted some useful information to you on how to go about solving problems like this. Look for related circuits, see where things tie together. If they all tie together, look for where they tie together. In this case, it was inside the fuse box and also the integrated control unit. Through the process of elimination, we pretty much replaced the two parts that I believe were affected, and here we are. So if you have automotive questions that were not addressed in this video, I would ask that you head over to EricTheCarGuy.com, where there's a welcome video to tell you about all the amazing features there that can help you with those automotive issues, should you have them. If you wish to connect with me socially, I can be found on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. I post repair videos every Friday, so please stop back. And I close each of my videos with be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.